So welcome again. This time we are on question 5. Welcome. This is question 5 of the audit 2023, audit April 2023 paper. Question 5a. Discuss 2 reasons why it is important to obtain a good understanding of the client industry and external environment. Discuss 2 reasons why it's important to obtain a good understanding of the client's industry and external environment. The 2 reasons why it's important, I will go to the first one. Obviously, is risk assessment, to be able to assess the risks. For risk assessment, it's very important that we understand the client's industry and the external environment so that we're able to capture all the possible risks associated with the client's business operation. And of course, through that knowledge, we can be able to evaluate the impact of external auditor on the client's financial, what is expected basically of the auditors on the client. That is very important after we have clearly understood the assessment, the risks in the industry. Then number 2, compliance. I will go with these 2 reasons. Just because the question is asking for 2 reasons, I will go those 2 reasons for now. Compliance, and by compliance, what I mean is the regulatory standards, the regulatory requirements. For us to get all the regulatory requirements and standards that have been set, we need to clearly understand the client's industry and the laws that govern that particular industry. So it's very important that we understand the client's industry and external environment so that we are in compliance with the requirements of law or the regulatory requirements. And number 2, to be able to assess with certainty the risks that are associated with that particular industry. Then go to question 4. Explain 4 advantages of planning in the conduct of an audit. Explain 4 advantages of planning in the conduct of an audit. Now, through planning, we are able to allocate resources, and resources can also be in terms of manpower, machine hours, machine hours. So planning enables allocation of resources, and I think the key word here should be efficient allocation of resources. And the resources we're talking about could be either manpower or machine hours or any other. So that is one of the benefits that come with planning, so that we don't start an audit work and then we find in the middle of it we don't have the necessary expertise, we don't have the necessary staffs, we don't have the required machine hours. No, those will be challenges and they might not give us good results at the end of the whole thing. Then for risk assessment, for optimum risk assessment and mitigation. Optimal risk assessment and mitigation. For us again to get all the possible risks, to conduct a comprehensive assessment, then we need to have planned. Planning will help us have the necessary time, have the necessary, all the necessary requirements to enable us go get unearth the possible risks in an organization. An in-depth assessment is part of the advantages of planning. It will help us enough time to understand the entity's operations. It will help us time to understand with the industry, to understand the industry, the internal control systems, all those things. At the end of the day, we'll just talk of optimal risk assessment for mitigation purposes. So risk planning helps us in allocation of enough time and all the necessary requirements that can help us ensure optimal risk assessment. Then timely completion of the audit. And part of the benefits you're going to get from planning is coordination, smooth flow of work from one person to another, good organization where people are assigned responsibilities and are accountable to others. We're also going to talk about staffing as part of the things that will come about with planning, who will do what, where, when, how, and all these things will lead to timely completion of the audit. So that all these are part of the advantages we're going to get from planning, but the overall will be timely completion of the audit. And then, of course, we also have comprehensive coverage of the audit procedures. Planning helps us to be thorough because it basically captures the scope of the audit work, the entire scope of the audit work. That is why that is what a plan does basically. It has to have the entire scope and then assign and allocate the duties to the various people based on their capabilities, who will do a certain task, who will do a certain activity. So at the end of the day, everything has been comprehensively covered and resources have been assigned to each of the tasks and activities. And that by itself ensures that the audit work is comprehensive and leaves nothing to chances. So chances are very high that we are going to have comprehensive tests that will ensure we come up with data which is all round, that is reliable, and that has captured the entire organization framework on things that are supposed to be captured. So let me see if we can have another one. Quality of the audit. It improves or enhances on audit quality and effectiveness. Let's just talk of audit quality. I think that's enough. So explain 4 advantages of planning in the conduct of an audit. It helps in allocation of resources, and we've said both manpower and machine hours. It also helps in optimum risk assessment, especially when we are trying to understand the environment. It allocates enough time for us to, do an in-depth analysis. It also ensures timely completion of the audit because of the coordination, the organization, the staffing that comes in with planning. All this will eventually lead to timely completion. Comprehensive coverage of the audit procedures because of the clear identification of the tasks and activities, and then assigning the responsible persons for all these tasks and responsibilities. And finally, it enhances the audit quality, and it enhances the audit quality since it will ensure that the auditors have a clear understanding of the client's operations, risks, and the entire audit work. Okay, then we have number C. C is describe 6 internal control procedures for a purchasing unit of an organization. Internal control procedures for a purchasing unit of an organization. Number 1, segregation of duties. Make sure that you segregate the duties. The work of one person is checked by the other person. Then make sure that we have the purchase requisitions, purchase requisitions and approvals, so that we don't purchase anything that doesn't have the requisitions and approvals. Then once the purchasing department has received the purchasing requisitions and approvals from the various user departments, then of course we need to have what we call the supplier evaluation and selection. Supplier evaluation and selection, where you select the suppliers who are qualified to do the job, and it has to go through all that process, tendering process, and then once you have those suppliers who are qualified, you can now do a local purchase orders or service orders, commonly referred to as LPOs or LSOs, or you can just talk of purchase order, and this one it's the client organization that sends to the potential suppliers to check if they have the goods and if they're in a position to supply the goods. All these things should leave behind some sort of documentation that will help the auditor. Then, of course, when they receive the goods, of course, you also have the quotations. The quotation will be sent, and then there will be the final, it will go through the audit committee and pick the person the supplier, who will now supply the goods. And when the goods reach the organization, we need to have a receipt and inspection of goods. Receipt of goods, we normally talk of delivery note, and inspection of goods, just to confirm if those are the goods that have been received are actually the ones that were ordered for. And then, of course, once we receive, we'll have an invoice, so we can talk of vendor invoice verification, where we verify this invoice just to confirm that it's accurate and valid. And then once we verify, of course, we make the payment. So we can talk of approval and processing of, actually processing and approval and processing of payments, and then periodic vendor statement reconciliation according to the payments. If it's cash, then we'll not have this. If it's cash payment, but if it's credit payments, we'll have a statement which we have to periodically reconcile with him, just to make sure that we are on the same page or on the same book. Okay, so these are just part of the procedures for a purchasing unit of an organization. There are some steps that I have skipped here deliberately, but these are major. Number one, let's check on the internal control, segregation of duties, where work of one person is taken by the other, and people have different tasks in the whole process. We don't need to have one person doing everything. Purchase requisitions, there should be documents to leave a trail. Then supplier evaluation and selection, the whole process should be very clear. LPOs and LSOs should be issued. Once the goods have been received, there should be inspection and documentation to show that. Then invoice should be verified, and then payments done. A receipt should be received, and if it's a credit purchase, then we need to have the reconciliations done on a periodic basis. Thank you. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get more of this, and we also have a school that offers online learning. We are accredited, and you will get video recorded lessons for all the subtopics as per the KASNEB and HRMPEB syllabus by joining us. Thank you and welcome.